Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast. I'm your host, Anish Gupta.
And I'm Srikar Rajendran.
Well, another week. You know what time it is. It is time to listen to your two favorite hosts talk about some football. Srik, how was your football weekend?
It was amazing. This is why you give up 4 draft picks for Christian McCaffrey. Huh?
Oh,
This is why what a ridiculous performance. Amazing.
of course, Niner fans who don't deserve Christian McCaffrey, by the
Oh,
way.
we do. We do.
It's okay. It's okay. Maybe in time they will appreciate him enough for me to deduce that they have given him the proper, praise and recognition for how good he is. Because I kept it real on the show talking about him, but it's okay. I had a really good football weekend too. First time in over a month that I can finally say we won a football game. So, it was great. Season on the line, Battle of Ohio. Got a couple noise complaints for being so loud during the game. It's okay. Passionate fan right here. But let's kind of get right into it. Obviously, this video, like all of our videos, are brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below the waist grooming. What else is there to talk about, Shriek? I mean, the Lawnmower 4.0, which, again, we've tried, absolutely blown away by the performance, cutting-edge ceramic blade, wireless charging, protecting those pig skins in the shower, in your bathroom. Don't got to worry about those deflations. Manscaped's got other amazing products as well. I mean, should I go on? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Comfortable clothing, T-shirt, boxers, nose hair and ear hair, weed whacker trimmer, the crop preserver ball deodorant. I mean, come on, man. Like if only there was a way to get all this with some sort of discount. Oh wait, we're about to throw one at you. CHT20 at manscaped.com. Shrikar, what was the code again?
CHT20.
20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Go grab yourself that Lawnmower 4.0. And now let us get into it. Starting off with not really a recap of any games. We're going to start off with the trade deadline recap. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. The NFL will always be better than the NBA. And the trade deadline was sensational. Unlike basketball, where it was dry, as well as free agency, but I won't go there. So a lot of teams involved. We're going to kind of go through this, as Srikar called it, the clock talk. Where we go through each team and kind of recap some good, some bad things. We've got teams that maybe we think benefited from the trade deadline, some teams we think didn't. Let's start off with the team that maybe isn't getting talked about enough in the trade deadline for, I guess they're getting talked about for reasons I don't think they should be. And that's the Chicago Bears. Now, obviously, before the trade deadline day, they traded Roquan, or it might have been in the morning. They traded Roquan Smith to the Ravens for a second and a round pick. Obviously, everybody is, a little bit shocked, right? Like, you didn't get a first for him. I'll let you start off maybe. What were your initial thoughts on the trade? And then, if you want to maybe throw in the other trade in there as well, just kind of spill on the Bears.
I think the Roquan trade was good. I think the mentality for Chicago and Ryan Poles was just grab picks. You already have a lot of cap space. The Roquan Smith deal helps with that. You get a lot more. You get that salary off the books now, so that's going to be good. I don't think they had to pay any of the salary too, so that's, again, really good for their cap. And then we look to the Chase Claypool trade, where they were able to get a pick back, a second round pick. I know some people were really mixed about it. I know Anish has his reservations. I personally like it for both sides. I think the Bears get a weapon for Justin Fields, someone that could be a wide receiver one in a different setting. And I kind of think of it as, if they were to get a wide receiver with that second round pick, I don't think there's any guarantee that he would have been better than Claypool. So I don't mind the move at all to get Justin some help in that facet. So I like the move for the Bears. And for the Steelers, I think they're going to be entering a rebuild very soon, right? So my thoughts on Pittsburgh. So I like the move to get a high pick, get that second. So in all, I think it was a really good active trade deadline for the Bears. They did exactly what they needed to do. And I'm not disappointed by either of those moves. Obviously, it hurts for Bears fans, but Well, the Roquan trade does, but I think both were necessary moves that had to be made.
I'm not even going to talk about the Ravens just because I think, okay, yes, you get a good off-ball linebacker to pair with Patrick Queen. I think Roquan Smith is a guy who can drop really well in coverage, especially play, in this two zone as kind of a not real. I mean, as a strong side, you can put him pretty much anywhere on that front seven as a linebacker. So he fits pretty well with any defensive scheme. I'm not going to touch much on it. I will say this: I think the Bears really made a good move here, and the reason why is they're finally showing that, like, hey, we're trying to invest in this offense a little bit, right? Because the defense. I mean, Matt Eberflus is not a bad. I think he's been pretty good coaching
I think he's
defensively
been
so
great.
far with the players. Yeah, I mean, you can say he's been great too. I just think, with the players they've had, I think he's done a pretty good job. And you need to find out what you have in Justin Fields because you've got guys who think he's bad. I'm still a believer. I think he's shown a lot of talent and a lot of flashes in certain games. I think you really give him the right pieces with this team. You can get something out of Justin Fields. And I think the best part about it is there's still time to figure this stuff out, right? And to do that, you want to keep a lot of cap space available to go get some guys, right? Reach on a left tackle, right? Like, or, overspend on a receiver like Jacksonville did. It's okay to really go after guys that you think are going to help your quarterback. Forget what the media says about how much you paid. And I think that's what they're doing here. So they basically traded Roquan for Claypool in a fifth. Okay. By our standards, fine. That's not really a good deal. But in terms of what they're trying to build here, I think this goes to show for the Bears fans and the NFL world that the Bears are looking to revamp this offense. And I think that's a good sign. And then for the Steelers who lose Claypool, I just think it really just shows that they believe in Pickens more than Chase, which is fine. I think Pickens has shown a lot of talent. And I think he's shown a lot of flashes in game, made some great catches on the sideline. So that's something you can definitely use with Deontay playing a little bit more inside. So happy for the Bears. I think, and the Steelers should be really ecstatic. They got a second round pick for him, because that's what Claypool went as. So I think, good deal in that respect. Let's talk about the Dolphins. They got Jeff Wilson, another Niners running back, and then they splurged on Bradley Chubb. I believe they gave up a first-round pick, a third, and a fourth for the star pass rusher. And I'll start off this one. I mean, let's. I think this all comes down to how they got the first-round picks for Laramie Tunsil. I mean, with what they've used with that capital, right? They've done trades with the Niners. Obviously the Niners one was the big one. So off those two trades, they've gotten guys like Jalen Waddle, right, at the 6th overall pick. And like now they're just expanding their assets. I think this is great. They've really turned those, they've really utilized and capitalized on their draft assets that they got back. I think that's kind of what I took away from this. I think Bradley Chubb is going to be great on that front seven. You've got guys like Melvin Ingram who play their butts off. You've got some good off-ball linebackers. I think the Dolphins are just building up what's already a really solid roster to me.
I'm with you. I think I'm going to miss Jeff Wilson first as a Niner fan. I think he'll thrive in Miami with McDaniel, though. Obviously, a Mostert and Wilson backfield, in my opinion, is better than a Mostert and Emmons backfield. So, obviously, Emmons is going to Denver in that trade. Yeah. But I'll talk about it, the Bradley Chubb trade from both sides. For the Broncos, after that fiasco that was the Russell Wilson trade, you needed a first-round pick. So, a good on them for getting one. Before like everything started heating up, they were apparently asking for 2 first-round picks, which I thought was pretty crazy. I mean, one made a little bit of sense depending on who was going to get him, and it ended up being the Dolphins, so makes sense to me. But 2, I think, is a little overboard for Bradley Chubb. And for the Dolphins, they needed serious defensive help, right? They needed a guy like Bradley Chubb, especially along the D-line where he can pair with Jalen Phillips on the other side. I think this is a great move for their D-line, for their defense in general. And if we look back at this last game against Detroit, they were able to keep scoring, and they finally put the clamps on Detroit in the second half. So there's something to build off there. And when you make a move like this, it inspires confidence. You have a very winnable game against the Bears this week. Miami could go on a nice little run here. We said it before, and we could have seen them at, a spot where they're like 8-3, maybe even better. But now I'm really starting to think that they are going to streak as we head down the stretch here.
I mean, I think Bradley Chubb just makes them better. You're right. Chase Edmonds really did not like he disappointed. I think for what they kind of gave up for him and what the role they expected him to be in. Just I feel like every time I saw him on the field, I feel like he got in his own head, right, with Mostert kind of stealing his job. So, I think the Finns anyway, I liked coming into the year. I think they got even better with Chubb, and Chubb obviously has the injury history. But when he plays, he's great. And I think that's what Denver just kind of wanted to move off of, right? Because it's hard, deciding whether he wants to give him a multi-year extension with the whole injury history. So I think it's good for both sides in that way. And obviously, yeah, Denver, you get a first-round pick, which you could really use to make this team a little bit younger. Kind of move on to a team that really maybe didn't do anything, right? And we're a little bit surprised by it. Green Bay. Again, it just seems like they're always disappointing us when we think they're going to get a player. And you know what that reminds me about? I mean, we're a football podcast here, but those who watch who are basketball fans, it just reminds me about the Lakers. We're always saying, who can they get, right? Who can LeBron James add to his roster? I feel like it's the same thing here. We're talking about Green Bay. Who can Aaron Rodgers add to this team, to make him happier? I'll throw it out at you. I mean, what are you kind of mad that he didn't do anything? Do you think any, addition would have helped? Like, what are your thoughts on the Packers?
I really think they should have gone a little harder after Claypool. They also gave up a second, but, in the Steelers' eyes, the Bears pick is more valuable. So they went with Chicago, but maybe giving up another pick would have landed you Claypool. But I think the biggest thing to me wasn't even that, they didn't buy. It's that they didn't sell either. They just did absolutely nothing. They were dormant. And I think that's where my problems lie with Green Bay, because even if you weren't going to buy, this team is 3-5. I think there are parts that you could have possibly sold. I mean, I talked about earlier. I mean, Lazard, maybe Elton Jenkins. There were pieces that you could have gave up in order to, build for the future after Aaron Rodgers and after this whole thing is because look, the Packers are in a spot where they're just. I wouldn't say they're down and out yet, but is really starting to look that way. But you needed to do something, whether it's buy or whether it's sell. I feel like you had to make just some moves. The fact that you're keeping this team as is doesn't inspire a lot of confidence for me.
Well, I think it also just goes to show they're not sure where they're actually at, right?
That's
so
the
do
problem.
You invest in your future, or do you think you're a win now team? I honestly don't know the answer. Like, they keep doing these moves that replicate different things. Signing Rodgers to a multi-year extension, that's saying we're a win now. Drafting Jordan Love, trading up for him, that's saying we want to invest in the future. Drafting a linebacker in the first round over a receiver says we're investing in the future, right? Like, all these, they're making these weird moves that just throw me in this flux, because I'm like, what are they doing here? And I don't really think Claypool was gonna change that much, right? Like, you've just got a bunch of guys, and honestly, I don't think they really needed to sell. Like, I don't really think they need to get rid of a guy like Alan Lazard, who's actually been pretty good. Here's what I think Green Bay should kind of look at. They should look at their game versus Buffalo and say, hey, in the second half, we outplayed Buffalo on the road, who was rested off a bye. We outplayed them in the second half. Give the ball to Aaron Jones more. I've been saying this is a team that needs to rely on power run inside, right? Open up the passing game by moving defenders down so you can throw it down the field. That's what they kind of did in the second half, and I think that's what the Packers need to do. They need to find an identity with this team. I think they're still soul searching. They really don't know what they have with their receivers. They keep thinking that, Aaron Rodgers keeps thinking, like, they keep looking to Aaron Rodgers to see his reaction with his guys. Is he happy? Is he not? What is he going to do after this year? See, like, the Packers don't have this identity, and that's the problem. With Devontae Adams, they had this, right? You have a QB1, a wide receiver 1 connection. You got a good defense that plays pretty well. You had a 1 seed for 3 straight years. You're not going to have that this year, and I think that's where we'll see if the Packers can really step up to the challenge. When stuff does not go right, how does Aaron Rodgers react? I think that's going to be the tale of the Packers season. But as for the trade deadline, I don't think much was going to help them this year. And I think, again, they did the same thing. They didn't give us an answer, right? Are they in the future or are they in the present?
In my opinion, you just got to pick a side. I get it, they're in that boat, but pick a side, stick with it, go. Don't stay in.
What they do, they just want to be relevant. Like, that's, it's a consistent theme. Even with Favre, they wanted to do the same thing. Even the early 2000s, where they just really weren't doing anything. Favre was doing great, but team wasn't. So, moving on. Division counterparts, the Minnesota Vikings picked up a tight end, TJ Hockenson. Obviously, Irv Smith went down with an injury, so Hockenson is in a way a replacement. I know a lot of people are a big fan of him in this scheme. I am in a way. I don't think like it's going to be game changing or life changing for TJ Hockenson. I don't think it's going to be life changing for the Vikings. I already thought their offense was great with Kevin O'Connell, but I will say this: I think player for player on offense, I think the Vikings. I mean, after the Niners got McCaffrey, might be a little bit different, but I think Vikings are up there. I would still argue the best player for player offense in football. And I think Kevin O'Connell has done a hell of a job. Again, 6-1. And the biggest thing with the Vikings, we'll probably talk about this a little bit with picks, but they're winning the close games, something they couldn't do with Zimmer. His son actually passed away, so rest in peace to him. But yeah, I don't think this move was game breaking. Quite frankly, I just think Hawk is going to play a very similar role to Irv Smith. Maybe he'll give some help in the red zone, maybe some extra help in that regard, maybe some better routes over the middle. But yeah, that's kind of my reaction to it.
I think it's a great trade for Minnesota. I have no idea why Detroit did this. No idea. And it came out of left field, just like another trade that we'll discuss in a bit. But TJ Hockenson is a really, really good tight end. And I thought he would be one of the building blocks in this rebuild that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are doing. And I like Brad Holmes. I mean, I'm a little iffy on Dan Campbell now, but I think Holmes is a great GM. I just don't know what he was thinking with this, because it's also in the division. You haven't played the Vikings yet. The Lions still have to play the Vikings twice. It's a move that doesn't. If someone could explain it, that would be great. I know there's people out there that are truthers that actually do think this trade works out for the Lions, but to me, I just don't see it. I don't understand it. I don't know why you would give a player of Hawkinson's caliber to Minnesota when, he should really be one of your building blocks going forward.
Yeah, it's a little bit questionable to me. I don't know. Do you know the compensation again? I don't know it off the top of my head.
It was a second and a fourth that goes to
Right. I know it was
the
a second
Lions.
and something.
And they gave up Hawkinson, a fourth, and another fourth that could become a fifth. So the Lions gave up a good bit of draft capital as well. So
I think they really are looking at that second, and I maybe they try and get an upgrade over the draft. Maybe a guy like Michael Mayer if he falls. I don't think he will, but
to the second.
Yeah, he's not falling to the second. So, yeah, I'm a little bit iffy on this. Maybe the Lions are trying to upgrade on defense in the next year's draft. It's hard to really explain.
But to give up a piece of your offense to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. A little bit iffy. Again, not earth-shattering for both sides. Moving on, really unexpected trade, honestly, but it threw me off like a lot. Calvin Ridley is now a Jacksonville Jaguar. I mean, quite frankly, we have not been talking about Calvin Ridley at all because, he got suspended for a year, which I think all of us agreed should not have gotten a year. But they get a guy who, is coming off, he was coming off an okay year, right? Like a lot of people had high hopes for him when Julio left. He had his ups and he had his downs. And now the Jags are going to have Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, right, as their two wide receivers to go along with Evan Ingram, who's been playing pretty well in this offense. I know Srikar wanted to talk about Trevor Lawrence, who has not been looking good recently. So do you think this helps him in the long run? How big of a move is this for Jacksonville?
At this stage in his development, Trevor Lawrence needs to be better. I mean, you saw that game against the Broncos, just flat out ugly. The Jaguars have been really crashing here. I think we kind of jinxed them a little bit, but let's talk about the Ridley trade. I'm not going to talk about it.
I'll take the blame for that one.
I'm not gonna talk about it much from the Falcons side of things. I want to talk about it more from Jacksonville's perspective. I think this is a big gamble, but I do think it's one that will pay off in the long run. I actually really like this trade for Jacksonville because my thing is Calvin Ridley, when he's playing, is truly going to serve that wide receiver one role for a guy like Trevor Lawrence. And I like Christian Kirk as a number 2 too. So I think that works out really great. But again, it's a big gamble. Do we know how Ridley is going to come back when he, do we know how he's going to produce? We don't. And that's what makes it a little bit difficult. But I do trust Ridley to get it going in this offense. I think it's going to work out for Jacksonville, but definitely a big gamble. The draft compensation that went back to Atlanta was really weird how it worked with all these different milestones and, kind of levels that you have to hit for it to become into potentially a second round pick. But let's see, maybe Jacksonville can get it to that stage where, it becomes a second round pick and you have him on a long-term deal.
Okay, so in regards to the Ridley trade, I think you are asking the wrong questions. So here's what I think. First, I don't think Calvin Ridley necessarily is a wide receiver one. Like, he hasn't shown it yet. There are a lot of times where he'll just get clamped by number one corners, and he's not really, there's just things he can't do about it. Like, he has not been a game changer. So that's why I think this is a little bit questionable, but I think the draft compensation part is really good, because it honestly comes down to whether or not he stays there, because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. Like, he's still on his rookie deal. So he was drafted in 2018, right? It's a 4-year deal. So he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So Jacksonville might not even get his services. So then, right, obviously, if he gets a long-term deal done, then the pick becomes a second round pick. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So, right. So that's where it kind of comes in, right? It's very like, the compensation is very iffy, right? Because like, if he gets reinstated by a certain day, then it's worth a fifth. Otherwise, it's worth a sixth. And then it's like, if he makes the team in 2024, it's a fourth. If he hits a playtime milestone, it's a third. And then if he gets a long-term deal done, it's a second. So it's just very complicated. I think for the Falcons, though, I think it's good because you don't have to pay him. And I do think, again, I think the Falcons know this. Like I'm saying, they don't think Calvin Ridley is a game changer. I agree. I think he's a good wide receiver, but he's not a receiver one. I think he's a receiver two. I think he's a guy that you put at Z, not at X. And the way he thrived was when he had 1374 yards with Julio Jones as the wide receiver one. So that's my take on it. I think Jacksonville will like it. Having Ridley and Christian Kirk, I think they complement each other pretty well. But I don't think Calvin Ridley is going to be, I actually think Christian Kirk might have a better chance to thrive in that offense.
Yeah, I'll hear it. But here's the thing.
So,
no,
what are you gonna throw out?
We gotta stick with, you mentioned Trevor Lawrence in the beginning. This is the last thing I'll say. He's got to stop.
I love how I didn't even talk about him.
He's got to stop. No. Before you said I wanted to say something about Trevor Lawrence, and here I'm gonna say it in full. Just stop making avoidable mistakes. Both his interceptions were horrid. The intentional grounding. That cost Jacksonville 3 points there. At this point, I cannot put it on coaching. I cannot. It is what it is. So hopefully things get figured out, but I don't know. Let's see what happens with Trevor Lawrence. I'm starting to lose stock in him though.
I'm not. I still think he's a good quarterback. Okay, let me just throw this out there, and I'll try and keep it, low. T-Law, you're right. There's avoidable mistakes, and again, it's a lot of the Carson Wentz syndrome where it's like, dude, stop forcing things. So I just don't. You're right. He forces things a little bit, but I think we all agree the potential is there. So you're right. Like, at some point, it's got to hone into consistency. But I don't think you move off him. I think his third year is going to really, like, with Calvin Ridley in the offense, I think this is where it's really going to be defined, right? Like, this is where I think we're going to need an answer by the end of year 3. I think Jacksonville can wait on his 5th year option. And that's good. So they can wait till the end of 2023, which is, I think, what they're going to do. So again, I think I had a fault. I got too excited with Jacksonville. I started putting these expectations on them. I think the season should, again, just be, see what you got with T-Law. And I think that's what they're doing, right? With Calvin Ridley in year 3, you're going to really see how Trevor Lawrence operates with 2 good receivers. So I think that's what they're doing here, and I'm in full support. I think the Bears are trying to follow that formula, so good on them. I guess that's it for our cloth talk. Anything else?
The cloth has been talked.
All right, let's kind of move on. So the Bengals played on Monday Night Football on Halloween night, and I I won't I won't brag too much, but it was a fun. I had a good Halloween night. Let's just say that I had a really good Monday night. Um, Bengals fans did not though, and they were down 25-0 heading into the fourth quarter until finally they decided, hey, maybe we should throw it deep and get these. Because obviously the Browns on deep coverage are terrible. Just ask the Jets. So they scored a little bit, but you could tell that offense was very stagnant without a guy numero uno, Jamar Chase. Just the Bengals, a lot of flats, a lot of glance routes, right? Really didn't push the ball down the field as much as they can with their offense. So here's my thing, right? And Srikar didn't even want to kind of make this topic right now, so I'll let you start off. But here's what I'm going to ask: is the Bengals season, not just I'm talking about their entire season, is it in jeopardy without Jamar Chase for the next 3 games?
I'm gonna say yes. And here's why.
Okay.
In that game, I was able to watch the first half. I caught glimpses of the second half. I was in the studio. But without Jamar, it's just the Bengals offense loses some of that identity, which makes them so great. They look completely just confused. The offensive line was once again a disaster. Burrow had a pretty bad game on his own merits as well. But without Chase, it just feels like you can visibly see something's missing. I like T. Higgins. I like Tyler Boyd. That big piece is missing right there. And it
I
kind of
think I know what
sucks.
you're trying to say.
Yeah, it's hard to put it into words, but they were really starting to warm up.
Okay. Let me throw this at you. I think it's because, look, Jamar Chase can run any route. T. Higgins can't, and that's the problem. He's not this guy that you can see. So he's not this guy that you can just say, "Hey, run an inside route, run a 4 for me, run a 5." Like you can't send him on any route. I think that's the problem, and and with that, the Bengals couldn't control the middle of the field, and that was where the problem lied. Right? It took them 2 quarters to finally hit something over the middle, 10+ yards, and it was on a Hayden Hurst seam route. So they lose that, right? Jamar Chase is a guy who can take a slant to the house. Jamar Chase is a guy who can make a really big play out of nothing. You don't really get that with a guy like T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd. Not as much, right? Or not as consistently as Jamar Chase can. And I think that's their problem. And the reason I said the Bengals season was in jeopardy is because, look, they're 4-4. I thought the Ravens were going to win this division coming in anyway, and they've looked really good, right? Because think about it. They've led in every single game they've played. They have led in every game. Some of them by 10+. And it's really just for them about finishing games, and at least they've learned how to do that somewhat. I think against Cleveland, that was a big thing for them to do, right? They did it. Tampa Bay, same thing. They're 5-3. I think the Ravens don't play a team with a winning record for the next 9 games. Their final 9 games, they don't. I think the Ravens have locked up this division already.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Bengals schedule right now because we want to talk about the season. So you got Carolina, which I think is winnable, and then you go into your bye, come out against Pittsburgh. There's your chance to really get some momentum back. But then after that, you got to go on the road to Tennessee, and then you got to come back home for the Kansas City game. So it's really tough to say. I think it's a little too early.
Yeah, they're going to play some hard teams, and again, they have this target on their backs. I've been saying this coming into the year. And again, like I said, I'm not taking them over Miami, right? So I think Miami squeaks out of them. The Jets, maybe if they keep these things up, the Chargers, if they I don't think the Jets are going to do it, but I think if the Chargers figure things out, right? I got the Chargers there. I don't know. And same thing with the Patriots. They're never a count out. Look, I'm worried about the Bengals being one of the 7 teams in the playoffs. That's all it is. I think it's not even about can they turn it around. I just think, are there going to be 7 teams that finish better than them? And I think there's a definite chance that happens.
For the sake of this exercise, I'll give you 7 teams that I could see over the Bengals right now. So obviously, in the AFC, so you got the Bills. They're going to be better. You have the Chiefs. They're going to be better.
Yep.
Titans will be better.
Okay, that's 3.
Ravens will win the division. They'll be better.
100. Yeah, I think those are the division winners right now.
I agree with you on the Dolphins. Let's talk about this. Browns with Watson.
I wouldn't go there. I think in order for that to happen, they would need to be 5-6 when Watson comes back, and that means they
It's
would have to pick
possible.
up 2 wins. Yeah, so they would. That means in their next 3 games against Dolphins, Bills, and Bucks, they would have to win 2 out of 3.
Keep in
So
mind
that's only when I would consider it. But up
and if
until
they
then,
beat
no.
if they beat the Bengals again with Watson, then obviously more of an advantage there too. But and I agree
That's
with you on
right.
the
Yeah.
Chargers too.
So yeah, because the
That's
Browns are
7.
2-1 in the division, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, that is a possibility. I'm not going to throw that. I think Dolphins, and then I think the Chargers and the Patriots are the two that the Chargers and the Patriots are the two that I'm not sure about. I think those are two that definitely could steal a spot from Cincy.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. The Chargers are just I don't even know. They seem so fraudulent to me. Like there's one I
They
was
pick up the
never.
wins. I think, like you're right. It's weird to say, but
But they're not
I think those
impressive.
are the two. Yeah, I think the Bengals season, not like you don't need to panic, but I would I would be a little bit scared, right?
Yeah.
This team should not be 4-4 right now. They
Hmm.
should not, right?
Yep.
They
Hmm.
shouldn't. Moving on, I feel like we talk about them a lot, but the Seattle Seahawks picked up a win against the New York Giants, who were 6-1, as we called it. A little bit proud of ourselves there. Again, the 12th man showed out as it always did, and the Seahawks got some critical turnovers on Richie James, who is really hearing it from Giants fans. Also suffered a concussion. But, let's throw it out here, right? So the Seahawks switched from a 4-3 to a 3-4. Shane Waldron got another year with this outside zone offense, and they're sitting at 5-3, top the NFC West. And it's looking pretty good for the rest of the way through. I mean, they've got some really winnable games down the stretch. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are giving credit to Geno Smith, who's been balling out. But I'll let you start on this one. I mean, are the Seahawks better than Geno, and why so? Like why so? And also, how good can this team really be?
I 100% think they're better than just Geno, and the main highlight of this segment for me was the defense. Earlier this season, I mean, Seattle was winning despite the defense, and now they're winning by getting a good amount of help from the defense. Over the past 3 games, especially, they're allowing less than 20 points per game. All victories there. And as you said it, they're at 5-3. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think they're going to reach double-digit wins. I think it's going to happen. And on Sunday, Daniel Jones couldn't really do much. He threw for 176 yards, 31 attempts. Definitely his worst game of the season. But the story all year has been Geno Smith and how it was so unexpected, his rise to the top here. But if the defense can really continue to ascend like they have for the past 3 weeks, I think the real story here is how this was a team that virtually nobody believed in going into the season. I mean, you did for a little bit, but not to this extent.
A little bit, but again, not to this magnitude.
But now, as I said, if the defense can continue climbing up, I mean, this roster is pretty dangerous. Like that's kind of crazy to say, but now you look at that roster, it's really good.
All right, let's throw this out there because I think the hardest game they play is the Chiefs. Again, I think I said this a couple weeks ago. I think this is a team that can beat anybody in the NFL, and I'm not kidding. I think with the way they play, how they're constructed, I think this is a team can on any given Sunday could beat anybody. I know we say that in football, but really, I truly believe the Seahawks can match up well with any team. And you're right, the defense has been playing great. I also want to throw out the fact that Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Kenneth Walker, they just remind me of this passing of the torch in a way. Seattle had Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin, Chris Carson, Tate, Baldwin, and Lynch. It's kind of this passing of a torch. I think this is the era we're really seeing right now. And, one thing I'm going to throw out there is Tyler Lockett, who I have never heard speak. You never say, hey, did you hear what Tyler Lockett said? But he said something, right? He said, you see how it is when not one person wants to take all the credit.
Means something.
I've never heard Tyler Lockett say anything. When you hear something like that from him, you got to take that a little bit with, more than just a grain of salt. So I think the Seahawks are coming together as a team. I think they really believed in Pete Carroll more than they believed in Russ, and I think it's showing. And yeah, this 5-3 team, do you think anybody's going to be able to eclipse them for the West? I think the Niners might. I think it's going to be a tight race with those two. but I don't see the Rams doing it, and I damn sure don't see the Cardinals doing it. Seattle is going. I think I'm pretty confident in saying they're going to hit double-digit wins.
Yeah, same here. I think the Niners and Seahawks are both going to be above 10 wins, but
This is a really good team.
they're
And
good.
again, they've shut down some good offenses. And yeah, they play with this fire that I think, again, like I said, can propel them in any type of win. And with how the NFL is going, I would not be surprised they pull off some upsets in January. So yeah, that's it's a little bit of a big kind of swing on the Seahawks that both of us are taking. I don't know how, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Maybe let us know in the comments, or because I don't really know what the media's take on the Seahawks is, because frankly they just don't really get talked about, right? Like it's all about what
That's the thing.
Packers are
Geno
not doing, what the
Smith,
Bucs aren't doing.
Geno's the darling, but the Seahawks aren't the darling. That's the thing.
Right, you're right. Yeah, Geno's getting all this credit of this being being a year 9 bloomer, but it's more than that, right?
Which is
I
why we
think
needed this
Seattle's
segment.
a really big collective. Like this is a collective group that needs attention. So yeah, that's kind of our recap of the week. We'll kind of move on to our fantasy segment of the week, as you guys hopefully enjoy. Shriek, throw out your start sets.
So my start this week is going to be Miles Sanders against Houston. Sanders has been, pretty inconsistent this whole year, but he's going up against the Texans' run defense that just gave up 200 yards to Derrick Henry. I mean, it's been awful all year. I think it bodes pretty well for Miles Sanders matchup wise here. So this is hopefully this comes out before Thursday Night Football, so you guys can see this. But if not, start Sanders. Start Sanders. My sit this week is going to be Garrett Wilson against Buffalo. Ever since Zach Wilson has come back, Wilson has not been performing as well, especially recently. And you're going up against a Bills defense that's really good, that is going to tee off on Zach Wilson. If pressure gets to him early, he's not even going to find Wilson. So that's what it is. I'm going start Miles Sanders, sit Garrett Wilson.
All right. My start is going to be Alan Lazard, coming off the injury. I'm forgetting who the Packers play. Is it Minnesota? I can't remember.
No, they play Detroit.
Detroit, sorry. Yeah, I knew it was a division rival. Okay, yeah. So they play Detroit. Detroit's pass defense is obviously atrocious. And I think Alan Lazard bounces back. He's been great in the games he's played, honestly. Having a touchdown or at least 50 yards in a lot of these games. Start Alan Lazard if he's obviously good to go. And then my sit of the week is going to be Darren Waller. I just think, again, he's been injured a lot, and he also just hasn't shined, right? Like in the games that he's played, has he gone off in any of them? Like the Raiders offense to me is so like inconsistently bad that I just can't rely on it. I don't think there's a consistent playmaker in there. Like maybe Josh Jacobs, but I'm forgetting who they play. I think it's at Jacksonville, right? Yeah. So who's pretty good against tight ends. I wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Moving on. Our favorite segment of the week, weekly picks. Shriek, give us the rundown.
So me, you, and Jack all tied with the same record at 11-4. A great week for all three of us. So standings don't necessarily change. However, fans went 10-5. So we each get a game on fans. So there's that.
How far am I back from fans?
You are one game back of fans.
There we go. All right.
Yep.
Catching up.
Yep. All right, let's kick things off here. Philadelphia versus Houston, Thursday Night Football. If you've seen the Eagles, if you've seen the Texans, this is the biggest mismatch we've seen all season. Give me Philly.
Here's one thing I like about Philly. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they do it in the right way. Like they get a lead, and they just stomp on you. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't see that formula changing here. So yeah, give me Philly.
All right, Chargers, Falcons. Here's where things get a little interesting. I'm going to take the Falcons. As I said before, the Chargers have not impressed me in any game this season, even the ones they've won.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the Falcons. They are a feisty team. It's going to be in Atlanta. It's going to be in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. However, the Chargers are coming off their bye week. So that's kind of where I'm a little iffy on this. However, the Chargers' run defense stinks. I think Arthur Smith has something for that. The Falcons are just going to pound the ball for days. And the Chargers are still beat up. No Mike Williams, no Rashawn Slater, no Joey Bosa, J.C. Jackson. Don't think Keenan Allen's going to be able to go this week either. So I'm going to go with ATL here.
You stole my thunder. Go with the ATL, man. I'm with you. I think this is a team that plays really good at home, coming off a really big win against the Panthers to take that division lead. And you know what? Sure, they allowed up that crazy touchdown, but hey, when push came to shove, they got in field goal range. They got it done. So they didn't let it phase them. Give me Atlanta here. You're right. The injuries are just piling up for LA. I mean, again, Joshua Palmer, who's their third receiver, is also questionable. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit rough. Obviously, we're not seeing the best out of Justin Herbert. And a lot can be said due to injury, but yeah, give me the Falcons here.
The Miami Dolphins at the Chicago Bears. I'll let you start on this one, but it's a pretty interesting matchup here.
Yeah, the Bears play better at home. And they actually, on offense, did not look bad against Dallas. I watched that game because, again, yeah, I didn't have anything to do on Sunday. The Browns weren't playing, so I was like, you know what? Let me watch the other orange team that starts with a C. So, yeah, they looked pretty good on offense. Again, a couple just stupid turnovers and Justin Fields jumping over Micah Parsons when they scored that touchdown was just, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of mistakes. But Miami, man, I'm telling you, they're just such a well-oiled machine. And the Bears' defense has not been playing well, which is ironic. And now you lose your best tackler. I think Miami's going to eat in the middle of the field with two guys who just get open. Tyreek is on pace for 2,000 yards, by the way, not being talked about. Also, he's going to shatter the receptions record. So, yeah, this is the best wide receiver duo in football. I called it to start the year. I'm glad it's paying off. Miami.
Hey, Tyreek Hill doesn't need Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't need Tyreek Hill. All right, there we go. Settle the debate right there, all right? There's no more disputing. I'm going to take the Dolphins. The Bears are showing they have some fight. But as you said, the Dolphins have that dynamic duo of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the outside. Very tough to stop that, so I'm also going to lean Miami here. And I have to say, a lot of these picks, as I look at the slate, it's very, very tentative. Like, a lot of this could change for me. Not saying this pick is certain, but this is a tough slate. Let's move on. The Panthers at the Bengals.
Ooh, okay.
After the egg we saw Cincinnati lay on Monday night, I think the Bengals are going to come out furious against a Panthers team that I think is outmatched in this game. I'm not going to underestimate PJ Walker, but yeah, I'm going to lead Cincinnati. It's in the Queen City too, so.
Yeah, give me Cincinnati. They've actually, look, despite all the things we've said, they beat the inferior teams. Except Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe Dallas without Rush. But at least with the teams like the Jets, right? The Falcons, they beat on teams that they should, I guess, at home. There you go. There's a better caveat there. So yeah, give me Cincy at home.
All right, Green Bay, Detroit, big divisional game. I'll let you start on this one.
It's at Detroit, which makes me think they could actually pull it off. But here's what I'm going to say. Leave it to the Packers to have a disappointing loss against a good team, and then they find a way to clean it up versus a division rival who's inferior to them, and then everybody thinks the Packers are back. So give me the Packers here. You doing it?
This game is so tough.
You doing it?
Look, this is it. This is it for Green Bay. If the Packers can't break their losing streak, which is at 4 games now this Sunday, it's all over.
You picking them?
I'm going to pick Green Bay, but just because I'm picking Green Bay, I have a feeling Detroit is going to win this game. So let me go with Green Bay for now before I completely switch my mind and just pencil that in. But this is 100% one that could change. I don't trust Green Bay in the slightest right now.
All right.
2 more teams I don't really trust in the slightest, the Colts and the Patriots. The Pats got a big win over the Jets, and now they come home. It's in Gillette, taking on Sam Ehlinger and the Fighting Colts. Ehlinger against Bill Belichick. Yeah, this is fairly easy for me. I'm going to take the Pats.
I'm taking the Pats too. I think they feast on young QBs. Again, I think they're a good team. So yeah.
All right. Let's go to. Yeah, let's go here.
Bills Jets.
I'll let you start here.
All right, I think it's me, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm taking the Bills. I said this, right? This was the Jets' time. if you really, again, I told you, you're going to show us that you're a playoff team, you got to beat the Pats at home. They didn't, and now I don't think they're going to get those 2 wins as I anticipated, or as I said, right? I think the season is going to come down to those 4 games. They're already 0-1. I think they lose to the Bills here. The Bills will feast on an inferior team like this. Going with the Bills.
Yeah, nobody is scarier than the Bills right now. I forgot to mention this when we talked about the Jets earlier, but I feel like Zach Wilson was surviving because he had Breece Hall in the backfield. Without Hall, it's become a major
Jack
challenge.
and I talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a major challenge to move the ball here. So I'm gonna also go
we
with
didn't.
the Bills.
I didn't talk about the Bills. I wanted to. They did not impress me against Green Bay. I wanted to say this. They did not look good in the second half. They got outplayed by Green Bay. I talked about that part, but Josh, and I love Josh Allen. You guys know this, but yeah, second half was a bit disappointing, right? Like, they don't run the ball when they're up, and like Nyheim Hines, is that really a game changer? Like,
No.
I don't know. I don't think the Bills were a little bit shaky to me at the end of that second half. They keep doing this thing where it's like, yeah, we're better than you, but what have you got to show for it, right? So yeah, I mean, a little bit iffy on them, but I think they get it right here versus New York.
All right, Vikings Commanders. Vikings are 6-1. They're getting great play on both sides of the ball. Do I pick against Taylor Heineke?
Dude, I feel like Heineke's
This feels so
3-0.
weird. This is
like
in Washington too, so I'm
this
gonna
is
go with the
one of
Vikings.
those that like just
I'm gonna go with the Vikings.
Why?
This is another one that could
Why?
change, but I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I'm playing it really safe right now, when I really shouldn't be because I gotta come back. But I'm gonna roll with Minnesota. Washington is very frisky,
okay.
though.
All right. Well, you know how much I like Minnesota. I can't pick again. Like, they are so good. They are so good at what they do. Give me the Vikings here.
Raiders Jaguars, another tough game. The Raiders are practically facing the end of their season if they lose here. Jacksonville, also a mess, coming off a long week of travel in England, and that's ultimately what's leading me to picking Las Vegas in this game.
All right. Okay. 5-game losing streak. Give me the Jags. Like, it's gotta snap, dude. It has to. I mean, like, the Raiders have been so disappointing too, though. Actually, yeah, this just feels like, I mean, they've looked really good, but on the road they've been really bad. Give me the Jags at home.
Okay. This is a big game for me because I'm a Niners fan. It's the Seahawks and the Cardinals.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
I'll tell you what, the spread is Arizona -2, and I don't understand. I don't think the Seahawks should be dogs here. They are just the flat-out better team. So I'm going with Seattle. I just trust them a lot more than Arizona right now.
I think Arizona's a different team with D-Hop, though. I think D-Hop is a guy that just makes this offense a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's desperation time for Arizona, right? They're 3-5, I believe. It's desperation time. They're at home. I think they can catch him off guard here. Give me Arizona in an upset.
Let's be real. Since he came back, DeAndre Hopkins has been playing like one of the best receivers in football. Like probably the best receiver in football.
Yeah, he's played like the best.
All right.
So, yeah, I expect no slowing down there. But, yeah, let's get into the 1 o'clock games.
Rams Bucks.
Wait. Oh, no, that
We're
is
already on the 1 o'clock. But Rams Bucks, I'll let you start on this one.
No, why? Okay. So it's 2 guys that I constantly defend, and I'm having a tough time defending them this year, Tom Brady and Sean McVay. Hey, I finally was on the right side of a Rams-Niners prediction in the regular season, which is great. Both teams have looked disappointing. The Bucks at least have looked good in some parts of their season, so give me Tampa.
If Tom Brady can't beat the Rams, who are just ravaged by injuries right now, I think they're done. Like, this is officially the last chance for Tampa. I mean, I don't believe in them. I don't believe in either team. I don't believe in either team. I'm going to go out and say it. I tried giving Tom Brady the benefit of the doubt last week when I picked him on Thursday Night Football. No, I can't. I'm going to go with Tampa. just because the Rams are a complete mess too. But I don't like picking this game. I just don't. I don't. It's two horrible teams that I thought this game would be great. I thought this game would be great coming into the year, and in this playoff rematch, it's gonna end up being a tire fire. But let's move on here. Sunday Night Football. It's the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. Keep it short. The Chiefs are at home in primetime, coming off a bye. Patrick Mahomes going against one of the more limited passing attacks in football. So, pretty easy Chiefs pick here for me.
The Titans have beaten Mahomes in the last 2 regular season matchups.
Oh, here we go.
Caveat, Ryan Tannehill plays, I'm going with the Titans. If it's that bad rookie quarterback who literally didn't do bleep in that win against, he didn't do anything. He was terrible. He was so bad in that win. He is so raw as a prospect. He needs so much help. And I've been trying to say this. I know Kenny Pickett is I know it's been Pickett to him.
We both knew this.
Malik Willis is not good. So give me the Chiefs. If Malik plays, if Ryan Tannehill plays, I will change this pick to Tennessee. But give me the Chiefs.
All right, give it some time with Malik Willis. We both knew he was wrong. No, I literally advocated for someone to sit him.
I do not think he's going to succeed in this league. I am sorry. I'm terribly sorry, but no. All right, let's move on.
Ravens Saints Monday Night Football. I want
Saints look really impressive.
I want to pick the Saints.
They look so impressive. Can we talk about Alvin Kamara? Finally, he hadn't hit the end zone at all. He hit 3. Saints looked really impressive.
Dalton was fine too. Yeah.
Devontae Adams got shut down by a rookie corner.
Oh my God, I'm gonna pick Baltimore. I still think Baltimore's better.
What?
Than the Saints?
You've picked the favorite in every game. Come on.
No, I picked Atlanta.
Go a little dicey. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're at home, so they'll probably be the favorite.
Technically picked Seattle. They're not the favorites.
Which is dumb. I think Seattle should be.
I'm going to go with Baltimore with the Ravens? For now. I'm going to go with Baltimore for now. This pick could also change.
All right, well, yeah, I'm totally going with Baltimore, too.
I want to change it.
I tried to change you.
I want to change it, though. Like, genuinely.
Nah, I'm good with Baltimore. I'm good.
Okay. There it is.
That's it.
We differ.
Well, yeah, I think the tentative one for me is the Raiders Jags, but I'm good with staying Arizona and Kansas City.
All right, we've differed on one game.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to change some stuff. I'm gonna go
leave
back.
It to us, man. We're the Cold Hard Truth podcast, but we change our picks based on who the other guy goes with. Yeah, it is what it is. Well, guys, again, we love giving these episodes out to you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, all our loyal viewers. Again, let us know what you guys think in the comments on anything. And we've been the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. We will see you guys next time.